So if you're new to my channel, I'm posting videos on Roman sites that my wife and I have visited. I cover some of the highlights, but you can get that from a lot of other videos. So what I tend to do is spend a little bit more time talking about travel to the sites, as well as any helpful web pages or tips that we picked up from our experience. So maybe it'll make your visit to those sites a little smoother. On this video, I'm going to cover Italica. This is a site very close to Seville, so it's fairly easy to visit. And so hopefully this will be a fairly short, quick video. I can be a bit long-winded, so hopefully I'm not on this case. So anyway, let's get to it. So Italica was one of the first Roman settlements in Spain. It was founded in 206 BC by Scipio Africanus during the Second Carthaginian War, the Second Punic War. This was the war with Hannibal. And it was for his Italian veterans. And so Italian veterans, so he named it Italica. Seville, of course, the neighboring city, which was called by the Romans Hispalis, was much larger and has stayed that way. But Italica controlled the river, and so for that and other reasons, it was a very important location. This was, of course, until the river silted up and shifted in the 3rd century, resulting in abandonment of the town and the continued success of Seville. And kind of as the rule works, a city that's not successful usually ends up being the best preserved, and that's what we see for Italica. Italica is the birthplace of the Emperor Trajan, probably also Theodosius I and his son Arcadius, as well as where Hadrian grew up. So that's kind of neat. Much of what was found during the excavation was taken to the Archeological Museum in Seville, which is currently closed for renovation, but should hopefully open up in 2025. So if you're watching this after 2025, you may want to post some comments. Let me know how that museum looks now. So there is a decent amount of things to see at the site. It's not huge, but there's a decent amount of stuff to see. Of course, the most famous is the arena here, which was used for the Game of Thrones. I haven't seen the Game of Thrones, but with all the sites I'm visiting where they film, I probably should go ahead and invest the time. I think there are only about 72 episodes. As a general rule, and I would say this for all sites, archaeological sites, get there early before the tour buses arrive, and you can basically have it all to yourselves. As you can see here, my wife and I, we arrived at the opening time of the site, and we had the arena completely to ourselves without anyone else around. There are also several domus which have well-preserved floor plans, like the House of the Exedra, which an exedra is a room used for entertaining off a peristyle court. Archaeologists are not the most creative namers. As well, there's several houses named after the mosaic floors. So there's, of course, the House of the Mosaic Bird. There's the planetarium, which I don't have a picture of. And then there was this nice mosaic floor. I think this was also in the House of the Exedra. I don't actually remember. And then, of course, toilets. You can't miss the chance to see a good Roman toilet and try to figure out whether life was really that good or maybe life wasn't that good. This particular one has a fairly well-preserved drain system under the actual seats of the toilet, as well as a very small fragment of the water channel in front that was used to carry water, presumably for washing sponge sticks, which according to Seneca was used for cleaning the unmentionables. And if he had just mentioned what the unmentionables were, then he probably could have cleared up centuries of debate in the literature. But it's assumed to mean that it was for cleaning your dirty bum. But anyway, I have my own theories as to why these seats have this particular shape with the cutout in front, which my theory diverges a bit from the current literature, but I'll save that for what I will call a targeted video. So as I said up front, getting to Italica is not hard, as it's so close to Seville. I don't really understand why it's not more mobbed. There is a bus as well, but we took a taxi. It's just that close that it's not a really long taxi ride. The bus is the M172A Damas that departs from Plaza de Armas bus station. It leaves about every 30 minutes, so you can see it. The bus station is down here. It leaves about every 30 minutes, makes a fairly decent, a couple little twists and turns, but about every 30 minutes runs off to the site. It may run every hour on the weekend, and it may not run on Sundays. It was a little hard when I went on the website to figure that out. But if you plan to take the bus, check with your hotel ahead of time or your Airbnb host. We always stay in. We tend to stay in Airbnbs if we're going to stay for more than a couple of days, and I'm sure they can help. We also took a taxi, so this is the drive, so about an 18-minute drive. We took the taxi out, and then we took the taxi back. The taxi met us right outside the gate. You can also use Uber in this area, but again, Seville, the taxis are so good that we just use those. And I would say if you have a chance, there is a theater off to here, the old Roman theater. We missed it, but it's worth a look if it's open at the time that you're there. So whether you take the bus or you take a taxi, it should drop you off right here in front of the gate. And then there's a walkway here with a small booth and the fence. And here is a little bit more detailed map of the actual site. It's from one of these websites. I don't remember which one. And these websites also have the current hours, so please check to make sure that it hasn't changed before you go out. When we went, there was not an admission fee. It could have been one of the free days, or maybe they thought that we were EU citizens who get in free. The guy at the booth was very nice, and be sure to get a map from him, even if he wants to charge you. But I would also print one out just in case in front ahead of time to make sure you have one. On the right is as you enter through the site, there's a small museum as well as some modern restrooms. In case you don't want to use, well, don't use the Roman ones, but modern restroom. The museum was closed when we were there. It wasn't clear why. If you've been in the museum, maybe you could leave a comment in the chat. As I said, it's not a huge site, so I suggest that you just take your time and see everything. I also really recommend, if you're going to be traveling in Spain, to get the Oxford Archeological Guide here to Spain. There are several pages that are devoted to Italica, and it has a floor plan for the House of the Etc., which is very helpful in at least whetting your appetite. The brochure from the government site is great, and it may even be better, but the Oxford Guide will show you many of the sites across Spain. So it's good to see what other sites may be near places you're visiting, Roman or otherwise. It's got quite a diverse set of different archaeological sites, not just Roman. And it's fairly old, but I was able, or you might say it luckily is fairly old, because I was able to get a copy very inexpensively off of eBay. So that is how you get to Italica, as well as some of the major sites. We had a really great time there. As I said, it's close to Seville. There's really no reason not to take a couple of hours and go out to the site. It doesn't have to be more than a morning. It probably wouldn't take you more than a morning. So if you enjoyed this video and like to see more of the experiences that we've had getting to Roman sites, please like and subscribe, and I will try to pull together a few more videos.